Welcome back to my channel, Beautiful Minutia. If you're new here, my name is Tiffany, and today I'm going to talk to you about some things that brought me joy in the second quarter of 2024. The second quarter was really fun because we finished up our school year and we went on a trip to Massachusetts and got to see one of our favorite K-pop groups in concert, my daughter and I, which was wonderful. I have a concert diary for that, so I'll link that. That was definitely like a favorite experience. So there was a lot of like really random things that were favorites, but I'll still try to categorize them. So starting with kind of the random things that don't fit somewhere else. When we were on vacation, we got to visit Orchard House in Concord, Massachusetts. Orchard House is Louisa May Alcott's house, and it was such a wonderful experience. I loved it so much. I got to go with my older sister, which was even more fun because she's also a reader and a book lover and loves Louisa May Alcott as well. So that was really special. But Louisa May Alcott is just wonderful. Little Women is one of my favorite books of all time, and so it was really special to see how many things in Louisa May Alcott's actual life were sources of inspiration for Little Women, which I already knew because I read a biography of her earlier this year. But it was really cool to see all of it in person, and there were things that I didn't know that weren't covered in the biography, and it was just such a wonderful experience. Another really random thing is this little guy back here. This is a capybara. Capybaras are my favorite animals, in case you didn't know. I love them. They're like giant guinea pigs and they're wonderful. So my older sister got this for me as an early birthday present, like really early. My birthday is not until September. But she found him at Build-A-Bear and made him for me, and she named him Captain Capybara. So now he's in the background of all my videos because I love him so much and I feel like he needs a really prominent place. He's even wearing capybara PJs. So he's so fun. The last thing is makeup related. So I purchased a set of lip glosses from Pacific. They actually partnered with ATEEZ to sell some of their skincare and makeup products. And so when I saw that ATEEZ partnered with Pacific, I was like really excited and really wanted to get the lip gloss. I'm actually wearing one of them right now. This is Mingy's color. This is probably one of the brighter colors, I would say. There's some that are like really light and almost nude. A lot of them are very red and dry, really red, even the ones that look a little pinky. But this is probably one of the brighter ones. It's actually not one of my favorite ones. I probably should have worn a favorite one while I was actually filming this, but my favorite ones I think are Hongjoon's and Yuno's. And Yuno's is like a brighter red, and then Hongjoon's is a little bit more subtle. Okay, let's move on to food. So kind of piggybacking off the vacation thing, my husband and I, for our 16th wedding anniversary, while we were in Massachusetts, we went out on a date and we went to an Asian barbecue. And this is my first time ever going to an Asian barbecue. It was incredible. So good. It's like top 3 eating experiences of my life. And it happened to be one of those ones where it's like an all you can eat as well. So I feel like we really got our money's worth. There was like chicken bulgogi, pork bulgogi, beef bulgogi, 3 different types of pork belly. There was a garlic smoked pork belly that like changed my life. I feel like I'll never be the same. There was types of mushrooms I had never tried before, as well as like Japanese pumpkin and different types of shrimp and like other different prime cuts of beef and chicken and other things. And we tried most of the things and they were so amazing. Now that the weather is getting hotter, I'm finding that like I want salads all the time. I instinctually eat a lot of vegetables during the summer just because they're colder. And so one of my favorite things I've been doing right now is doing, it's like supposed to be like a knockoff of like a Jersey Mike's sub in a tub. And so you chop up all the individual ingredients. So it's essentially like a chopped salad because you're chopping up lunch meat and stuff too. You can use like olive oil and red wine vinegar and like salt and pepper and oregano, but I've been using a Greek vinaigrette that I found at Aldi that is very similar flavor wise. But the thing that makes it like special and different to me is that I love banana peppers on a sub, and this is the first salad I've ever put banana peppers on, and it just like is so good. It's just really hitting the spot lately. Another recipe that I recently discovered is gluten-free, dairy-free cookies, and they are chocolate peanut butter. And I have made peanut butter cookies before that are gluten-free and dairy-free, and the base of it is just like peanut butter and maple syrup and salt, and that's all that's in it. And this has a few more ingredients because it's also got cocoa powder, but it also has some almond flour and a couple other things. So I feel like it's not as crumbly as the peanut butter cookies that I've made in the past. It has a little bit better of a consistency to it, but it still doesn't have a lot of ingredients. So it's great if you have sensitivity to gluten or dairy, or you're just trying to eat like a more like paleo or kind of like keto diet. I think it would fit those. I don't know if it fits keto actually, because it does have maple syrup in it, I think. So maybe you could kind of tailor that to a keto diet. I don't know, but it definitely fits for like paleo and gluten-free and dairy-free, and they're so good. Okay, let's move on to media. So starting with music, I already mentioned that we got to see ITZY in concert. Oh, that was just such an incredible experience. It was our very first K-pop concert, and it's one of my daughter's favorite groups, and I love them too, so it was really, really fun. But it's my daughter's favorite girl group, and they were just incredible. Again, I've linked the concert diary, so if you want to watch that, you can check it out. I was also really excited about a lot of the ATEEZ stuff that happened in the second quarter. So first of all, ATEEZ was the first K-pop boy group that was invited to come to Coachella, and they killed it. I really, really loved watching their performance, and it was just so much fun. In addition, they had a comeback, which is essentially just them releasing a new album. That's what they call it in the K-pop world, called Golden Hour, and I really loved it. And this is my first like ATEEZ comeback that I have really been invested in. I kind of was there for like their last comeback and was starting to get into them a little bit, but wasn't fully into them. This time I am, so it's fun to see all the different interviews and different things that they're doing to promote their new album, in addition to the music itself just being really incredible. And I think that Work, which is kind of their title track from this album, is the most off-the-wall weird music video ever, but I love it. And lastly, for ATEEZ, they were actually hosted on Killing Voice, and Killing Voice is a show that they invite K-pop idols on and they sing. Go figure. But because this is not like a regular performance, they're just standing at the mics and singing. It really is to showcase their singing abilities, not just their performance abilities, not just their dancing, because they're not dancing and they're not, I mean, they are performing, but they're singing standing at mics. And I just think it really showcases how talented they are in their singing abilities, because I think that a lot of times people will talk about their dancing and their stage performance, which is very, very valid, but their singing is just incredible. I have nothing to say about TV. I did finish a show, but it's not a favorite, so I'm not really going to talk about it. So let's move on to video games. I'm going to be doing a video on video games later this week, so you can check that out because I'll be talking about all the video games that I've played, but I'm only going to talk about a couple of my favorites here. I played a lot of shorter games in the second quarter. So one of them that I played is called Tome, and in Tome you play this funky looking little creature. I don't even know what kind of creature you're supposed to be, who goes around and takes pictures of things. So people need photos of things. And I just really loved it. It was really quirky, had a lot of really great humor, and I really enjoyed the art style as well. It's not a long game, but it was just really, really fun. Another short game that I played is a very cozy game called Haven Park. And this is kind of like, it's a cozy game, but it's also open world. So when you start out, you are the grandchild of the person who owns this park, I guess, that has like different campsites in it. And so when you start out, you don't have a map. So you are exploring this island and finding different campsites as you go. And when you reach the campsites, you can then start to set up the campsites, and you start with like campfires and like houses or tents or whatever, like cabins for them to stay in. And then as the different campers come, they talk to you and they tell you what they want to see at their campsite. So you end up being able to build and design these campsites, and some of them have like different requirements, as well as the campers having different like side quests for you to do and different other exploration things. So this was just so much fun, and it was just like so cozy. There's like nature sounds and just like little bits of music in the background, and it was just really lovely and relaxing. I also played Littlewood, which is not a short game. This game feels like a cross between like Stardew Valley and Animal Crossing. So I didn't love the graphics because the graphics are like the most extreme pixelated game I have ever played. But this game totally hooked me. So the storyline of this game is that the battle's already over, the hero has defeated the villain, and now we're rebuilding the world. You find out from talking to people that you are the hero, but you don't remember anything. You have no memory of what happened. So you're regaining some memories while talking to the different townspeople. And then each person wants to come and move to your little town. So you have to build their house. So you have to go out and like get the materials from different places. There's like a cave place and like a forest place. And then there's like a museum that you can build up like Animal Crossing. And each person, when they come, they want specific things in their house and different requirements that you have to fulfill. And so it's really fun because there is a decorating component to it. There is a little bit of a story to it. It has, you know, some farming elements, but it's not a farming game. It reminds me a little bit more of Animal Crossing, but I really thought it was just so much fun. All right, lastly, let's talk about the books because that's probably why you're here, since this is a booktube channel. So I've mentioned in many videos throughout the second quarter, and then also my 5-star predictions video that I just put out, that I was in a major reading slump for a lot of the second quarter, for all of April and a good chunk of May. So at least half of the month I was in a very serious reading slump. And as a result, there weren't a whole lot of like 5-star books that I read within the second quarter. There was only a couple, but I am going to mention some books here that were like very high 4 stars and close to 5 stars as well. I'm just going to go in order of when I read them. So the first book I'm going to talk about is The Girl with 7 Names. So this is a North Korean defector memoir, which I found extremely fascinating. And I really loved it. It was the first North Korean defector memoir that I had read, but I own another one and I want to read more of them because I think that there's a variation of experiences. This one was really, really interesting because she came from a wealthy family with really good standing. And so when it came to her leaving, there was a whole different like course of action and lots of things that she was able to do that I think a lot of people weren't. And also the fact that when she left North Korea, her intention wasn't to escape. She just wanted to cross the river into China because her little brother had done it and then come back. And so she wanted to do that. And she was planning to come back, and then it was no longer safe for her to come back after she did that. And so then she's stuck in China trying to find a way to either come back to North Korea or find a way to come back to freedom. And there's just like, it's so interesting, the thought process of someone who is used to living under this like communistic dictatorship where every little aspect of their life is controlled, and then how they figure out how they adjust to freedom is just really fascinating, the psychology behind that. So I just really, really loved her story. I read a graphic novel in April, I think, called A Sky of Paper Stars. And this is a story about a young girl who is the child of 2 Korean immigrants. And she feels like she doesn't fit in at her school because of the different things that her parents do and rules that they have and stuff. So she feels like culturally she just doesn't seem to fit in, and she thinks, well, maybe I would fit in better in Korea. So she wishes that she would be able to go to Korea, and then there is like a death in their family, and so they end up going back to Korea for that. And she feels really guilty thinking that her wish is the reason that she ended up there, and then she's finding out she doesn't fit in Korea in the same way that she thought she would. So it's really kind of this sense of family in this book, but also like someone who's looking for a sense of belonging. And I just thought it was really, really good. I thought that it explored so well the family dynamics and the cultural dynamics, and I really loved it. Next up, the book that broke my reading slump that I can't stop talking about, and that's My Antonia by Willa Cather. This is a story about some people who move to Nebraska as kind of like pioneers and farmers and kind of their transition. So it mostly follows 2 children, Jim, who is coming to live with his grandparents after his parents have passed away, and Antonia, who is the child of a Bohemian family who have immigrated to the United States. Antonia does not speak English, and so her father requests that Jim would teach Antonia English, and that's kind of how their relationship forms and starts. And we follow them as children all the way up through adulthood, and it just really, it's very, very slow and feels kind of like vignettes more than it does a full story until you kind of get to the end and you kind of see the themes that Cather was exploring and how she kind of comes full circle of like, what does home really mean? How do your roots affect who you are as a person? And just like the lasting impact that your childhood and people in your life can make, even if you've like lost contact with them. And it's just like so beautifully written. Cather writes the most beautiful nature descriptions I've ever read in my entire life, and I think she's becoming a favorite author. Another person that is becoming a favorite author is Ray Bradbury, and I read Dandelion Wine in May and June. It kind of crossed over the 2 months, and this is another very like quiet, episodic kind of a book because it is about a young boy named Doug and him growing up in the 1920s and his summer vacation. And so it follows him and his friends and his little brother as they are doing things in the town during summertime, but then it also kind of zeroes in on different people in the town and really talks about like what it means to grow up, what childhood really means, what does it really mean to be alive, kind of focuses on, you know, mortality, and then also kind of time, and just like it has a lot of really deep themes. And that's something that I really love and appreciate about Bradbury, is the way that he dives into themes in such a deep and understandable way. The way that he writes about childhood feels so special. It feels like someone who never lost that piece of themselves and it still has that childhood at heart. It wasn't quite a 5-star for me because I feel like I like Bradbury better when he has a little bit more of a plot, kind of like Something Wicked This Way Comes or his short stories. I prefer him in that context, but I really, really loved Dandelion Wine. And the last book that I'm going to talk about is my only other 5-star. I had like 2 5-stars, I think, in the second quarter, which is crazy. And that's Fidelity by Wendell Berry. This is a short story collection, and it is my first Wendell Berry, and it will not be my last. I read this with my in-person book club because we wanted to read a Kentucky author because we live in Kentucky. And so this was just really, really special to read this book. I feel like Wendell Berry captures the essence of Kentucky in such a beautiful way. And we live in a super rural county, so a lot of the kind of actions and attitudes, even though in the book they take place, you know, like 100 years ago or something, like they're from a while ago, those attitudes and actions are still very present in the community that I live in. So it felt like such a beautiful snapshot, not just of the Kentucky countryside, but about farming life and about community and the relationship that people have together in small rural towns that I see every day living where I do. And I thought it was so beautiful. Each story kind of has its own kind of thing that it's doing. And some of the stories I was kind of like, what are we doing? Where are we going with this? And then we'd hit the end and he would just bring it home in such a beautiful and meaningful way that I'm still thinking about some of these stories, and I read them like a month ago and I loved it so much. Well, those are some of the things that have brought me joy, some favorite things that have happened in the last quarter. So I would love to hear from you in the comments down below. What has been bringing you joy lately? What's been making you smile? What has been just like bringing some light and joy to your life? And if you have, you know, read any of the books that I talked about, or played the games, or listen to the music, or, you know, whatever, I would love to hear from you and talk to you about some of the things that I mentioned. If there are things that you have loved as well, or not loved, we can talk about it that way as well. And as always, just so you know, everything is linked in the description of this video. So if there's a recipe or a game or a book that I mentioned, all of that is linked below so you can find it there. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please hit like and also subscribe so you can continue to see more bookish content from me, and I will see you again next time.